the Comic DM.
What is up, besties? It is your girl, the Karmic DF, back to you again with another video. This time we are going to talk about how hard it is to actually date after you get out of a spiritual awakening, or if you're in the midst of it, you're going through it. Maybe you're just healing. Maybe you're in a place in life right now where you have really done some self-reflection. You've dug and you've figured out where you have been sleeping on yourself, where you have made excuses for things in the past. So this is for people that want to date, but they're feeling like they're a little more healed than the people that they're meeting in life. So if that sounds like you, then as always, if you enjoyed these videos, please leave it a like. It really does help my channel. Leave a comment down below on what you want to see in future self-development videos. Hit the subscribe button to be notified about future videos, and follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. But as always, let's get into it. I'm also available for readings. Links are down below. So this is meant to be a lighthearted video for people who are becoming their authentic self and they're trying to date right now, and maybe you guys need a little bit of hope. So if you've been through a spiritual awakening, or if you're working on yourself and you're ready to get back out there, then here's what I've learned so far, so that hopefully you can get a decent experience. But even the bad matches in life can teach you a lot. I tried Tinder after my spiritual awakening, and this is what I learned about why a lot of new connections fail. A lot of people are coming from a place of fill this void for me. And if you've done the healing, that's naturally going to repel you, because you don't want any more trauma bonds. You don't want to fill someone up. You want to add to their life. And you've likely learned all you needed to, karmically speaking. And so you're ready to invite in healthier dynamics. And so right away, if you're approaching dating apps in general, you're going to notice that a lot of people are on that app and they are bringing a lot of baggage with them. They are bringing their trauma with them. And as I'll describe with my own experiences from the past and now, you will begin to notice the things that you might have brushed off in the past, or that you might have liked because you thrived in chaos, because there was still childhood wounds that needed to be mirrored to you in order to understand what you needed to heal to move forward, to find that healthy connection in which you're looking for. Reflecting on when I had Tinder 4 years ago, I was very quick to see the good and dismiss the bad. Like, for instance, I'd see that they want children, when that's a fundamental no for me, but I'd still go, let's just see what happens. I was lowering my own expectations for a myriad of reasons. Maybe my expectations are too high, maybe I'm too picky or too judgy, maybe I'm the problem. Questions we tend to ask ourselves, right? But the reality is most, not all, go on a dating app because they feel something's lacking for them, whether that's consciously or subconsciously, to fill a void. They've given up on love and it's a last form of desperation. The point is, most of us don't go on there with this mindset of, I'm going to find someone who's the perfect fit for me. I do understand that people truly want casual, and I'm not shaming that. I understand the app. There's just a growing issue of people who feel incomplete getting on all these dating apps, or dating in general, just to fill a void. When I first downloaded all these dating apps, I can admit now that I was incredibly codependent. I was in love with the idea of love. And consciously, I was repeating the pattern of chasing love and validation outside of myself. I kind of knew what I was doing. And if I can be honest about my shortcomings, then maybe it's because it benefits us, because it helps us to learn and grow. Where are you sleeping on your morals? Where are you sleeping on what you want and what you don't want? If you are making excuses for things that you don't want, things that, for instance, me not wanting children, but still humoring people that want children, that's coming from a place of, if you think about it, well, maybe I won't meet the perfect person and I'm going to have to bend the things that I want in order to get the best outcome, right? We tend to play it small. We tend to assume that what we want is not realistic. We're aiming too high, and so we set the bar really low so that we can't be let down. But the problem with that is you're setting the bar low because you have low expectations, because you have unhealed trauma. And if you healed that trauma, you had higher expectations, 222, and I said that. So that's being in cohorts with yourself, cahoots, spirit. I'm seeing like the Two of Cups in my head, but like being connected with yourself. So we kind of, like I said, we do this dating app thing to fill a void, and then we kind of gaslight ourselves because maybe I don't want kids and they do, and maybe I'll learn. Or maybe they're very extroverted, but I need a lot of alone time, but I'm afraid that I won't be able to meet someone who can respect that I need a lot of alone time. And so again, I am molding myself to fit others people's needs instead of realizing that maybe I just have my own needs and you don't fit that. And that's okay, because in a world of 8 billion people, there is likely going to be someone that fits what it is that we need. The problem is we always tend to look for a quick fix, especially if we haven't really healed, haven't worked on ourselves. And so we're trying to find someone that completes us instead of somebody that's adding to our life. When you feel that lack, then you're more likely to settle for things that you don't actually want. And that's why I personally had a pattern of dating men that you couldn't even call it dating. It was more situationship. It was more men that were incredibly guarded, did not want to be vulnerable. They thought that deep was a sign of weakness, that emotion was a sign of weakness. But even understanding from a higher perspective, if you've been through this spiritual awakening and if you've done the work, then you understand why that needs to occur, because then you can learn more about yourself. Why am I attracting this person when it's clear that this is not what's meant for me? Why am I making excuses for behavior that I don't want and that makes me unhappy? And we need to dig a little bit so that we aren't destined to repeat the same cycles, because this is how childhood trauma plays out. This is how that one life-defining relationship that messed you up plays out. You are always, not always, but when you have these traumas, you will subconsciously look for that same type of person that originally started the wound, so that you can basically retrain your brain to prove, hey, I'm worth it, or hey, I can fix it, or hey, I am valuable. So let's say you had a father that maybe he abandoned you, right? Like he didn't want to be a part of the family, and so he ghosted. And so now you're drawn to people that consistently ghost you. But what that's really telling you is not that you don't deserve love and that you can only get people that ghost you. It's telling you that you are subconsciously reenacting what happened to you in the past so that you could prove to the child inside of you that you are in fact worthy. Putting myself back out there now that I'm not longing to fill this void, but rather if it's meant for me, then it won't miss me type of attitude, and having no expectations, kind of think of it as shopping for a new wardrobe. I'm not going to like every single article of clothing in the store, but I need to see what I do like, what fits, what feels too smothering, too tight, what compliments me, what takes away from my essence. Even in the quickest connections, you can learn so much about yourself and about others. Obviously, people are not closed, and I'm not trying to make it, but you are learning what you need, not what serves your ego. When you get picky, you are telling yourself, I deserve the things that I really want. I deserve to not downplay my own needs. Maybe these people are great, but they're not my person, and that's okay. And we need to get comfortable with that, especially if you're somebody that was originally a people pleaser, or if you were someone who was originally one to ghost, because it's rude to ghost somebody, and it's rude to disrespect yourself, and therefore disrespect someone else until the point where you reach a breaking point because you're not happy to begin with. Both of those things are happening simultaneously, regardless of what side of the spectrum you fall on. So be honest with yourself. What are my core values? What are the things that I truly want? What are my absolutes? And what are my things that I'm willing to compromise on? I'm not willing to compromise on kids. I'm not willing to compromise on someone who lives through their ego and wants to be surface level. I'm not willing to compromise on someone who's uncomfortable getting deep. Does that mean that these people are inherently bad? No, I've met really great people that just can't swim to the depths of my personal ocean. You know what I mean? But that doesn't mean that they're bad people. And I think that a lot of us feel this kind of tinge where it's like, oh, I don't want to let someone down and hurt somebody, but that's really coming from a place of I've been hurt and so I don't want to do that to them. But you are not responsible for other people's feelings. And just like people didn't really give a shit about yours, especially if you were the people pleasing type, then it's time for you to stand in your power. And so long as you're doing it respectfully, 222 again, we're talking about being ourselves. Let's go. But as long as you're being respectful and also being respectful to yourself, then yes, you are going to piss off some people. Some people are going to irritate the hell out of you. You're going to see a lot of reflective moments where you're like, wow, that stuff would have worked on me a few years ago prior to me trying to heal my stuff. Or you'll have moments where you're like, wow, I can see your trauma clear as day. And again, it's not from a place of a judgment. It's just more that when you clear your own shit, right? Your own fog that's become who you are, but it's essentially just all of your traumas wrapped together into a personality. When you realize that you've kind of pulled that all apart, then you can see it in other people because you've done the work. And so you can see when people are acting out of fear. You can see when people are acting from a place of trying to control a situation. You can see when people are just not being authentic. You can see when people are being toxically positive, but they're actually unhappy. You can see people that are lashing out because they've never been happy and they don't know how to be happy. That's kind of the life hack that you get, but there's a negative part that comes with it if you choose to look at it that way, which is that it's going to be harder to date moving forward because your standards have leveled up. And that's not a bad thing because that just means you're one step closer to finding the person that really gets you and that's really right for you. When we begin to understand that the things that we feel are letdowns are actually opportunities to learn the depths of ourselves, we can begin to appreciate them for all sides. Yes, I get excited about Bob, but then I realize that they want kids and I don't. Is that a bummer? Sure. But maybe Bob also taught me that I love a person that can make me laugh. Maybe he also showed me that someone really can be authentic and not let their pride control their desire to be vulnerable. We're so quick to sum up someone based on their worst moments. How common is it in the media alone? But one big fight, maybe a miscommunication because you speak different languages, because you're in different stages of your lives, you kind of just say that they're just that, right? It's like, how do I explain it, Spirit? Like, people tend to make you think that you are just your worst moment and not the accumulation, the spectrum of you. You know what I mean? So let's go back to my example of Bob, right? Bob had a lot of great qualities, but at the end of the day, he wants kids, right? And Bob is made up. But it's happened, you know? And a lot of people will be quick to be like, oh, that was such a failure. Like, I wasted so much time. And my point was, but did you though? Because you learned about the things that you did want. I've had very healthy and in-depth conversations with people on dating apps where I kind of knew within a few hours that they were likely not going to end up being what I specifically need. And I do kind of have a little bit of a bias that may not necessarily be true for most people, but I believe the more that you develop your spiritual gifts and you awaken, the more likely you're not going to be able to match with someone who is very 3D just because your beliefs and viewpoints and realities are very different. But again, the point is not to just sum up someone based on one bad experience. So maybe the kid idea is not necessarily the best one. So let's say all the great things, right? Like let's say you have, okay, so I talked to one guy that actually seemed really like a decent option at first. We both were in recovery for a few years. That person used it to build a life for themselves. Same here. And we had really great banter on that in the beginning, but that person just could not hold a conversation to save their life. And I'm a very mentally stimulated person. I need somebody who's very curious about the world. They want to learn and experience life. And I could easily be like, oh my God, that guy had so much potential, but he couldn't hold a conversation, and this is pointless. And of course, and we do that to ourselves. We set ourselves up for failure, right? We go, of course it's never going to work out. Of course they're always going to be this way. Of course all men this and all women that. But that's where we disrespect ourselves, and that's where we limit our ability to find what it is that we actually want. Because when we put people in boxes, the same thing that we don't like, then we put our guards up. We start to do the trauma factors again of like keeping people at a distance, not showing our true selves. And you definitely have to feel it out, right? Because not everybody deserves the most vulnerable and authentic version of you. You can't just give that away all willy-nilly. You have to have boundaries. But understanding that humans as a whole are complex, and they are an opportunity to learn about yourself and about the world around you. And just like I made that example of the shopping spree, as dumb as that sounds, but it's the best example I have, you can, as annoying as it is to have these conversations that go nowhere, I get it. I'm a busy person. I don't like it myself. But in doing this, you can figure out who you are and what you like. Maybe, Dave is great at communication, and Rob is really vulnerable, and Ben is in love with animals. And you're learning all of these things that tick boxes on the pro list for you, and then you're realizing, hey, this is something I really want. This might be something that is a definite for me. It's a must. And then it's like building a boyfriend, building a girlfriend. You have to figure out what you want and what you don't want in order to figure out what's right for you. And that comes with being picky. And I know that we've been taught, a lot of us have been taught, don't be picky, right? Like you're aiming too high, you're dreaming too big. Rom-coms aren't a reality, though I can make a whole video on why those are toxic, but I still love them. It's just they promote trauma bonds too. So don't even beat yourself up, because society kind of like set us up for that, and generations of trauma set us up for trauma bonds. But that being said, just be kind to yourself and realize that dating is not this thing where it's like you're going to get it right the first time and it's going to be happily ever after. I mean, that could be the exception, but most of us are the rule, right? We got a lot to learn about ourselves, learn about others. So understand that this is just kind of like cherry picking almost. It's like, let me taste this fruit. Oh, look at that. I like grapes. Let me try this. Oh, I hate watermelon. You know what I mean? It's figuring out who you are, what your needs are, what your values are, and sticking to it and being firm in that. Because especially if you're someone who's exceptionally spiritual, then you know how universal law it works. And if that's what you want, then you need to model that to yourself. So if you keep attracting people that are guarded, are you guarded? Or are you codependent, and so they're pushing you away because you're pulling in too fast? You know what I mean? The main thing to understand about all of this is it's all a learning opportunity to bring you back home to yourself and bring you that much closer to the person that's right for you. So to sum up this video, moving forward, whether I would recommend starting with dating apps just so you won't have to feel so guilty if you're highly empathic or, intuitive, or you are a people pleaser. It'll be a little bit easier for you. But just dating in general, I want you to go at it with an open mind, with no expectations. Don't assume that they're all going to let you down. Don't be like, all men are this, all men are that, or all women this, all women that. Don't do that to yourself. Also, don't project, don't be like, oh my God, they have this one thing I'm looking for, now I'm planning our wedding. You're going to be let down either way. What you need to see moving forward is that notice the growth in yourself. That'll definitely help you right away, is noticing that, like, oh, that line used to work on me, but I don't like trauma and chaos anymore, so I'm a pass, and realize that this is a time for you to learn about you. So yeah, you might trigger some people. You might irritate some people because your boundaries are not something they're used to. And so they might disappear on you. They might be rude. They might lash out. But remember, those are their triggers. It's not yours. You are learning who you are, what your fundamental values and beliefs are, and you're standing firm in that because you're no longer willing to settle for less than you believe that you deserve. And everybody deserves what it is that they're looking for. But in order to figure out what you're looking for, you need to figure out who you are, what you want, and what you don't want, what your likes and dislikes are. And that's the reality of dating. We put a lot of pressure on dating because we want that fairy tale ending and we want that happily ever after. But we've been scorned, and so we need to heal what we've been scorned by. We need to notice the patterns and stop repeating them. And then when you begin to date again, when you've healed at least enough of it, you can see the growth within yourself. You can see what it is that you want and what you don't want. You'll realize that it's nothing personal because you're not meant to be with every single person you match on an app with or every single potential relationship that may or may not happen for you. But I'm going to leave this with an example so that you can really understand that it is going to be tough, but you can also understand that you can be proud of yourself at the same time. Seeing your growth and seeing that moving forward, you're just going to be that much closer to getting what it is that you want because you're not willing to settle and repeat the old cycles in the past. And so I'm going to leave it with this. I matched with someone that I had matched with 4 years ago. And listen, I know that this is a little contradictory because I reopened the app, but I already had that kind of feeling of like, you're still on the app, you got the same pictures, no bio, but all of a sudden I'm getting these like red flags and these icks, right? But I remember that person vaguely. I remember the feeling that person gave me because I remember the photos, and I remembered how he made me feel very small. I remember that I felt like I needed to play small. I remember that I was walking on eggshells. I remember that he had a really big ego. I remember that he gave off this like cool, sexy, you can't touch me, I'm a tough boy vibe. And back then, I was into that. You know what I mean? I liked chaos. And so I humored that guy and disrespected myself a long time ago. And so we rematched, and that was a no within a couple of hours. We barely even talked. I mean, all I saw was just guard, ego, pride, arrogance, ignorance. It was mind-boggling and also kind of terrifying because it had been so many years. Like, where's the self-development? Where's the reflection? Where's the healing? Especially if you're over 30. I'm not trying to drag you, but if you're 30 and up and you're still like, I'm not going to say it, but come on, y'all. Like, we need to grow up. We need to do better. We need to be better for if not for you, for like the future of humanity. But whatever. I'm not going to get on my high horse with that. But it's realizing that, you know, it kind of hurt a little bit because, like, the dude came back into my life and I was like, let's see. Because I was trying to see what drew me to that person in the beginning because I remember being hurt by that and how would I feel about it today. So I really got to experience the past version of me and then redoing that and knowing that I was redoing a cycle, but this time I had changed. And so what used to work on me by this guy who was very guarded and not at all intact with his emotions did not work at me at all because they were pickup lines. They were, oh, I just want to go with the flow. This is too, like, he called me gay for wanting someone who wanted a cheerleader and a partner. And while at the same time saying that I wanted to take things slow. You know what I mean? So people will project on you is the point. People will try to make you feel small because they feel small. People will try to tear you down because they tear you down. So while you are re-entering the dating world after you've done the work, please understand that this is not about you. You're going to get projected on. It's going to piss people off that you have boundaries because they don't have boundaries. It's going to piss people off that you're picky because they're not picky. It's going to piss people off that you don't want to just immediately meet, bang, and bounce because you're not looking to fill a void with dick or vagina, respectfully, but it's the truth. You've grown and you should be proud of yourself. So look at it more as a social experiment. Look at it more as going to a mall when you're a brand new version of yourself and now you're trying to figure out what fits you most. Don't look at it as this nightmare thing. I mean, if you're miserable, delete the app because trust me, girl, boy, whoever you are, I get it. But at the same time, realize the growth that you've made within yourself and be proud of yourself for that. Notice every time someone pisses you off, notice that trigger and use it as fuel to go, okay, so there's still something that might need to be healed, that might need to be a little fixed, so that when you're really ready to immerse yourself in dating, truly immerse yourself in dating. I mean, really ready. Because I didn't go into this fully ready. I went into this with my mind open to see, because I had gone through so many spiritual awakenings, who am I now? What do I like now? And that's why you have to understand, if you look at it more as like shopping to figure out what you like and what you don't like, you're just that much closer to what it is that you want and what it is that you don't want. You'll be proud of how far you've come. You'll be a little annoyed by the people that refuse to evolve and adapt, and it's going to happen, and it sucks, and I know it's annoying, and it's really easy to be like, I'm going to be alone forever. Trust me, I say that pretty often. I'm not going to lie. I try really hard not to manifest that, so I try not to say it, but it scares me sometimes because there's a lot of traumatized children in this world. There's a lot of adults walking around that are not necessarily adults, and this is coming from someone who was another person that was an adult with a child mentality, a inner child that was broken. And so we have to understand that moving forward. You're going to be pickier. There's nothing wrong with that. You're going to trigger people. There's nothing wrong with that. You're going to learn that most people aren't for you. There's nothing wrong with that. Just take every experience as an ability to learn about yourself, learn about others. And it's as simple as that. So I'm going to leave it at this. I hope that this was helpful. I hope that this was more lighthearted, more fun. I know that dating apps are just, but I'm trying to remain positive for y'all, kind of for me. I've learned a lot about myself just being on the app for 24 hours. Also learned that I kind of want to delete it already, but you know, it is what it is, because I just want to slow burn, y'all. I'm not looking to fill a void. So when you're at that place, just be proud of yourself, y'all. So if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. It really does help my channel. Comment down below what you guys want to see in future videos, both self-development and pop culture readings. They are fun to make. Subscribe and hit that notification bell so that you never miss out on future videos. Follow me on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok so that you know what's going on, and I share more on there. I am open for personal reading. Links for all of that stuff is down below. And I will see you guys in my next video. You can do this, bestie. I know that dating is hard. You're not going to get it right on the first time, and that's okay. But you're going to get one step closer to knowing yourself and knowing what it is that you want. That is what's best and what's perfect for you. Love you guys. You got this. And I will see you guys in my next video. Bye, guys.
The Comic DM.